well, we're going to get the raw, unfiltered cold open here because the idea I had, the thing I wanted to talk about was, I mean, it's big news for me. I mean, you might yawn at this, but the fact that the Oscars is moving to streaming.
I thought you'd talk about this. I saw the news and I'd be like, I think I want to ask Robert how he feels about this.
Yeah. I mean, so the news broke a couple of days ago from when we're recording this, but essentially YouTube entered a bidding phase on the rights to air the Oscars because I guess the contract was up for renegotiation. ABC historically has been broadcasting them on regular old TV for the longest time, and that basically meant that if you are a cord cutter like myself, you don't have a TV package, you didn't get access to the Oscars at home, and you either had to go to somebody's home who had cable or a TV package, or you had to go to like a in-person Oscar party like we did last year. And that's fine, those Oscar parties are a bit of fun, but nothing beats YouTube though for availability, and arguably this could be the shot in the arm that the Oscars needs to kind of reach out to a younger audience, because we all know that people obsess over the viewership stats on the Monday after the show every year, and there was a period of time there a couple of years ago where it seemed like it was just down, and people were wondering whether they'd even bother doing the Oscars anymore because it was just becoming like a losing game. So I guess YouTube threw a bunch of money at the Academy, and they went with their bid for 4 years. So starting with the 101st Oscars in 2029, that will be when you can just freely stream the award show. And I guess that kind of means that like they're untethered from any concerns about length in that case, because they don't have to hit a particular broadcast window. They don't have to cut to the news or anything. I'm sure there'll still be ads because, if YouTube's, they make all their money from ads. So they're probably going to still be mid-rolls throughout the show. But yeah, do the Oscars being on YouTube make you at all more interested to watch, or are you still kind of like, nah?
No.
Yeah, I figured.
Two things though. One, the time constraints thing is very an interesting point. I do feel that I don't think we'll have time constraint because there's no time limit on YouTube, right? Like you're not slotting in with anything. There's a million channels because there's a million computers out there. Two is I hope they show every award now. There's no excuse not to. And the third one is I bet you there are tons of ads because the ads on YouTube right now are already out of hand. It is so annoying. I hate watching YouTube now to the point where like I don't think I watch YouTube all that often anymore because of the ads. Some of them it's like every 30 seconds even where ad pops up and you have to skip ahead, and then there's that little thing that pops up too that says like learn more or something. You got to click the 3 dots and tell it to go away, and it's so annoying. I'm more interested to see how you feel about it moving to streaming, because this is more your thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I have a YouTube Premium account, so I don't see any ads when I use it, and that for me, like,
got YouTube Premium.
Yeah. The amount that I watch YouTube, like I follow a fair number of creators on there, and I'm watching like long form videos. If I was trying to put up with ads, it would just be a losing situation. Like like you said, like they're way too intrusive nowadays, and so like paying for premium is definitely worth the money for me at least. I don't know if that's going to impact the experience of watching something live like the Oscars. Like YouTube may well decide that like it doesn't matter if you have a premium account, they're still going to show you ads for something as big as the Oscars, considering how much they're spending on it.
What are they going to show instead when there's dead time?
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll just be like a hold screen that says we'll be right back or whatever.
That would be worse.
Yeah. I mean, at least with ads, you can like mute the audio and just like go up and get a bathroom break or a refill on snacks or something. I obviously like I watch the show every year. I have my opinions on like how the show gets produced. It'll be interesting to see if the viewership experience works. I know there's been some issues with like Netflix streaming live events. They obviously there was the debacle when they hosted the boxing match between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson there. Was it this year or the year before, where like the actual like system couldn't contain the sheer amount of viewers that were trying to access it, and it just was crashing constantly. So, I mean, I hope YouTube has built out their infrastructure to support like millions of people watching simultaneously. Because yeah, if the viewership experience is bad, that's going to obviously turn a lot of people off. A lot of these younger viewers who they've been hoping to attract. But the only other thing that comes to mind is just that it's going to be a longer show in a few types of ways, not only because there's going to be some new categories by the time 2029 rolls around. I think we're getting the casting award this coming cycle. So the 2026 Oscars will have an Oscar for best casting. And by the time 2029 rolls around, we will have a best stunt performance category. So we'll be up to 25 awards, and that one's long overdue because there's a lot of guys and gals who've worked really hard over the years, sacrificing themselves for that art. So they're going to need all the time that they can get to fit in those extra categories.
I'm most excited about the best stunt team award, because I agree that's long overdue, and I kind of wish we could retroactively award it to Mad Max Fury Road, because that still sticks out to me as one of the most visceral, most exciting action movies ever made. And I think 2029 is so far away. A lot of things can change. Maybe by then we'll have like a best AI actor award or something like that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, who knows?
The whole like Hollywood industry would just like turn their backs to the award in protest.
Yeah, the Actors Guild certainly. They would just completely boycott out of principle.
So, just one more question for you. So the Oscars are always kind of worried about or trying to chase the younger demographic. I don't know if you agree with me, but my theory is that the younger demographic doesn't care for the Oscars anyway, especially with the films that they promote. Do you ever follow the Teen Choice Awards?
Oh yeah, I mean, I see headlines about who wins various things.
Right, so that used to be a lot bigger, but I do think that the younger demographic tends to skew towards Teen Choice Awards because it's more fun, it's more casual, it's more about popular films than the Academy, which is always about, art and cinema. Yeah.
And I mean, well, they've tried over the years, like, playing around with the idea of like the best popular film category, which they never actually did.
It's a stupid idea anyway.
I know they got booed pretty hard by the industry and by the critics, but they are struggling a bit to attract people just because ultimately this is a contest that's decided by people in the industry, not by the actual moviegoers, and the people in the industry are going to lean towards the more intellectual, headier stuff that, isn't your typical blockbuster type of situation, because they're people of taste, allegedly.
But that's my point, is that you should give up on that demographic because you're not going to get it, because that's not the type of content you produce.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's totally fair.
It's like a company that sells, I don't know, hair dye to make you look younger. And they're like, why don't we have the age 16 to 20 demographic? Why don't we have more of that? And it's just, It's only weirdos like you and me who are watching, artists in our 13, 14 year old stages where we really care more about the Oscars. I think it's so political, and my reasons for not watching or not paying attention isn't so much that I don't like film or, I think it's too pretentious. It's just that sometimes I feel like it gets a little political, and granted, yes, there is some pretension in there. I don't mind it, but there are films that have won. I look back and I go, no way that should have won. No way. There's too many examples.
I acknowledge the politics of it 100%, and that's partly why I kind of perversely follow it, because it says something about where the industry is at sometimes in that point in time. And it has no reflection on the actual merit of the movies, because you could draw up a completely different top 10 list every single year for movies that aren't even touched by the Academy, which are probably more artistically valuable than anything that gets nominated. But I just live for the ups and downs, the horse race in the weeks that precede the show, and I love the technical glitches and the bizarre awkward stuff that happens on stage, like
when Will Smith punches or slaps someone.
Yeah, like the slap, the Ellen DeGeneres photo that broke Twitter, like that
was stupid.
The
slap was stupid.
They're all stupid, but the living through that moment in real time has always been really interesting to me, and seeing how things go sideways, or like the time that Moonlight won Best Picture unexpectedly because Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway didn't say the right name on the envelope.
I just care about film. I don't really care that much about who's dating who's sitting where, who showed up and who didn't, and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I still maintain that if they went back to the style of the show from when it was first launched on TV, like back in the 50s or the 60s, whenever they first started televising it, where they just brought people up to a podium one after the other, and they read out the categories one after one, and there was no segments, there was no jokes, there was no monologue, just hand out the trophies. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom. I think if they did that, you would probably get a way higher viewership, because people would just feel like, okay, it started. We're not going to get sidetracked by any kind of tributes or, celebrities not knowing how to read off a teleprompter. Like, right.
That's an interesting take.
But they're never going to do that, because, I think partly the Academy wants it to be as long and self-congratulatory as it is. And, so yeah, you're never going to get a short and sweet version made for TikTok or anything.
I think I would prefer it if they made the clips introducing the nominees longer, so you see more of their acting. I always think that's one of the best parts about the award show, is because you may not have seen all the movies and you'd like to get a sample of what their work was like. I don't know if they still do this, but they used to have the best song performed at every sort of, I guess, few categories, just so you can obviously get a listen to it. I wish they brought that back too. I'd like to listen to live renditions of the best songs of the year.
Yeah, I mean, they've played around with so many formats now. Like, I've seen versions where they only play the nominated songs during the red carpet portion, so that at least
I don't like that. You don't listen, you don't hear it.
I know they're worried that, like, they put them in the actual telecast during the awards and it pads out the show, and then they're like, oh, it's 15 minutes longer, da 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 da. So then they're like, what if we do it as interstitial moments during the red carpet? Oh, that's easy. We get 15 minutes back. Same thing with the clips of the performances. Like they're analyzing, trying to like shave out any little bit of time. And I've even seen a version, I think, was it last year, they did like a medley of all the songs as like a 2 minute kind of thing where you hear like little slices. Like, they've tried it all, but interesting to see where YouTube goes with it, because it's obviously going to be a whole different crew of people working on it. But with that, should we get started? Talk about some movies?
Welcome to the Extra Buttery podcast. It's a show about movies, TV, anything with a story and actors on a screen, really. Join Jason Chan and Robert Snow's free-flowing conversation with deep dives into characters and plot with the occasional salty opinion. So get your popcorn, I got mine right here. Let's start the show!
Welcome to episode 137 of the Extra Buttery podcast. My name is Robert Snow in Toronto, and I'm joined by Jason Chen in Vancouver.
How are you?
Good. As usual, we're doing a catch-up episode because we only get together every so often to record these, and lots of movies fill the gaps in between. So this time we're going to be talking Running Man, the remake directed by Edgar Wright, Sentimental Value by Joachim Trier, Jay Kelly from Noah Baumbach, Predator Badlands by Dan Trachtenberg, and Wake Up Dead Man from Rian Johnson. This kind of spans probably like a month and a half that it's been since our last episode. All sorts of things in there. I'm sure we'll have lots of tangents and digressions. Running Man is first up, and it's kind of a nice step from our little cold open there, where our large cold open, where we were briefly mentioning the stunt category that's going to be added to the Oscars in not this coming year, but I think the year after, because The Running Man it's a movie that obviously depends a lot on stunt work. It is a big action set piece kind of movie, and it is the remake by Edgar Wright of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim versus the World and a handful of others. And he is coming to this remaking the classic, or like cult classic, I guess is the fairest term, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from the 1980s, based on a very early Stephen King novel when he was writing under the name Richard Bachman.
Employment status, blacklisted. But there's still a way out for you. It's the biggest show in the country.
Bloodlust is our birthright! Set it free! Welcome to The Running Man!
Running Man is a dystopian future type parable about a world where there's no social safety net at all. People compete in deadly games on TV to get the few shreds of money they need to, pay for medical bills and that kind of thing. And it's supposed to be a dark version of dark possible future that we might find ourselves in. Cautionary tale. This one stars Glenn Powell, who's still building his star profile after appearances in Top Gun Maverick and Anyone But You and various other vehicles. And he's playing the Arnold Schwarzenegger role, that of a guy who gets pulled into this deadly game where he's on the run from hired killers and pretty much anyone in the general public who is allowed to collect a bounty if they either kill him or provide information that leads to him being killed on TV. And this version was met with a certain amount of anticipation from people who, remembered the Schwarzenegger version fondly. I'd seen the Schwarzenegger version for the first time, I think last year sometime. It was just like, it was on Prime or something, and I'd heard about it. I'd never seen it, and I was like, I wonder if this is any good. The Schwarzenegger version is like a very campy movie with it doesn't have a bunch of the gloss or the memorable scenes that classic Schwarzenegger movies have. He's playing a very familiar type of character, to anyone who's seen his other work, but the actual production quality of the rest of the movie is a little bit lacking. It has a kind of a made-for-TV vibe. They fired the original director partway into production and brought on a guy who'd pretty much only worked in TV, and it was a decision that Schwarzenegger said probably hurt the overall movie in the end. And he actually said that of all of the movies that he's made, he was most interested in seeing The Running Man get remade. So here comes Edgar Wright, and he, obviously is no stranger to big action set pieces or high concept stuff, and seems like a pretty good fit for the material. And unfortunately, this movie has been a pretty big flop. I believe the original budget was $110 million. So far worldwide, it's only grossed 68. So with the marketing costs that I think Paramount was the studio behind this one, Paramount is eating a pretty big loss on this one, unfortunately, especially as it's now come to streaming and is not going to be in as many theaters. Were you interested at all in seeing this, or was this just a pass for you from the get-go?
Well, before I answer that, do you remember when the first Running Man movie was set? The one with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I believe it was like current era, like 20... Was it 2010s or was it 2020s?
2017.
Okay. Yeah.
It's so funny. It's kind of like... It's so funny when you watch movies from even the 70s, 80s, and anything that's futuristic. They're always like in the new future, and it's like 2020 or 2020 something, and it's like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
that's right now.
Yeah. And, obviously you can have a lot of fun pointing out all of the ways that they got the future wrong, and, how hard it is to predict what things will be like in 30 or 40 years. But, so this one, I think it pushes the time period forward quite a bit, maybe sometime in like the 2050s or 2070s. I can't remember exactly. So who knows, maybe if we live that long, we can go back and find the exact same thing happened, or maybe it is darkly kind of predicting a real future. And I will say that I'm kind of sad that it flopped as hard as it did, because there are some really redeemable things in this. The production design was very striking to me. It bore a lot of resemblance to the video game Cyberpunk 2077 for me, a game that I've probably put like 300 hours into. I've played it all the way through a couple of times now. Just a lot of similar kind of like East-West fusion type city design.
Okay.
Elevated trams, floating holographic displays, all those kinds of things that kind of have that cyberpunk kind of vibe, more generally, like, the genre. And I mean, Edgar Wright is not wasting anything on the screen. There are practical sets with lots of like digital extensions. There's really kinetic stunt work happening. I think Glenn Powell did a fair amount of his own stunts, which, current gen stars are often want to do. And he's pretty compelling in the role. I mean, they bill him off the beginning of the film as like the world's angriest man, because he's just like seething constantly, especially in the first like half hour to an hour of the movie. He's just like teeth gritted, spit flying, just like cursing, and like he's just like going through the movie with his like shoulders hunched and just like kind of funny timing too on the if you'd been watching the World Series around that same time, because they were happening kind of concurrently, there's a player on the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, he may not be with the team anymore this coming season, but Max Scherzer is known for being a similar kind of figure, like who's just like, rage just pouring off of the guy when he's playing. And so I was entertained, kind of thinking of like, oh, this is kind of like a Max Scherzer guy in this movie. But the rest of the cast is also quite good. I mean, you have Coleman Domingo as the kind of charismatic TV host who's egging people on to try to find and kill this guy. Josh Brolin as the TV executive who's kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes. Lee Pace as the leader of the band of killers that are on Glenn Powell's tail. And Michael Cera pops up as this like freedom fighter, conspiracy truther type of guy that helps Glenn Powell out on his journey. I mean, you could say that the movie is like a little bit rote. There's some familiar stuff in it, and there is a certain amount of like violence. Definitely, they're definitely making it a lot more obvious than the Schwarzenegger version did. I mean, the tone can be a little preachy in certain scenes, but it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that deserved to flop. I think if it had found its audience more effectively, it might have done better, but yeah.
First of all, I'm so glad that you managed to make a sports reference.
Yeah, right? Isn't that weird?
I know.
That's what happens when you bandwagon correctly, because I went into this season of baseball not knowing, I mean, I knew one player on the Toronto team, and that was like their star guy, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I knew literally none of the rest of the team. I went to one game here in the city, and everyone was a stranger to me. And then by the end of the World Series run, I knew them all like best friends. So
the one thing about Max Scherzer, he has that mutation where he has one green eye and one blue eye.
Yeah, heterochromia.
So when he looks and stares, it's actually extra scary.
Yes, and then he's got like this like something with his like the corners of his mouth that almost make him look like the Joker sometimes.
He is just a really intimidating looking fellow.
Yeah.
And not to go in too much into it, but like there are times where you watch him on the broadcast and they pick up the sound he makes when he throws the ball, and he grunts really loudly sometimes. But I was going to ask you about the marketing for this movie. So I actually didn't have any clue that this movie was coming out until maybe a few weeks before its release. Now, I do wonder, though, is marketing harder because we have too many channels and it's too hard to hit them all? Or is this just bad marketing?
I mean, it could be. The movie could only expect a certain amount of like familiarity from the audience, because not only is it not one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's better known movies from the 80s, it also, it isn't thought of very fondly in general from the people who've seen it. So, you're not going to have the kind of like instant recognition of like a Total Recall or, one of the other ones that he's done, a Predator, for example. We'll be talking about that later. So there's less of a built-in audience, and then that means they have to work harder to kind of say like, oh, this is why you should care about these characters. And I don't know, maybe they didn't put the stuff in the right markets. Maybe they weren't targeting it or cutting it up in the right way. Maybe they didn't do enough to kind of sell the cyberpunk kind of nature of it. Maybe that would have helped it a little bit.
I just heard how gory it was, and so I was immediately less interested. But I had seen Task, and Emilia Jones is in it, and she's fantastic. So I was interested in seeing her. And as you noted, a great cast. Do you think Glenn Powell's sort of bright star has really faded? I thought he was going to be following Top Gun and a bunch of movies he did too. He did another war movie with Jonathan Majors about fighter pilots, and I thought he was quite good in that, and I thought he was going to be the next big thing, especially when you do a movie with Sydney Sweeney, right? I don't think he's really had that much staying power for someone who I think was being really marketed to be one. And it's not his projects are bad, it's just unfortunately they haven't done well at the box office.
No.
And I don't know what The Running Man could have done instead to get a better box office draw or number, but it doesn't seem like Glenn Powell's the household name that they think he is, or that he just can't. He's not Tom Cruise, you know what I mean?
I think it's just that era of the movie star has died out, and not because there's not a good supply of people to follow after Cruise in terms of talent or star presence or whatever. I think it's just because the culture is so fragmented now, and you have situations where people just aren't all going to see the same big movies just because somebody's in the top of the poster, and they're finding out about things later and catching up with things on streaming. And so it's harder for like these big star vehicles to really kind of get a foothold in the culture.
Yeah. Or it's like, I don't want to see this movie because there's a person in this cast and I don't like their politics.
Sure. Yeah, that's good. That can be a factor. Yeah. So, I mean, it's too bad, because I think, it might be harder now for Edgar Wright to get another budget quite as big as this for his next project. And I mean, he even toned down some of his, as I know you've commented in the past in some of his movies about how you don't really like the
editing,
his signature style of the editing, the quick cuts in on like, mundane objects, hands grabbing things, pulling things out of frame, lots of whooshes and sound editing. And he still does a little bit of that here, but he's definitely toned it down, because I think he's trying to replicate more of like what you'd expect from a standard studio type of production.
I also don't think he is not the right director, but maybe not the greatest fit for like a big budget movie.
Maybe. I mean, he's done big budget before, with Ant-Man and stuff like that.
Right, but I think that's the outlier. I think he's better when he's doing Last Night in Soho. I thought it was pretty good. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Hot Fuzz, lower budget stuff. I think when you give him a big budget with like Ant-Man, which has a lot of CGI and is also MCU, and then big action set pieces like this where the scale is pretty darn big, I don't think that's his forte. I don't know if he's going to get a big budget production or not. I think he's a good director and he's going to get his opportunities, but I just don't think that's where his best work is going to come from.
And well, the other element here too is the kind of social commentary, which he hasn't really dabbled in to a great degree in his career before now, and it is kind of the weakest part of the movie, where the movie is trying to leave you with a message to come away with in terms of like wealth inequality and the things that people will do in a broken society to care for their families and stuff, and some of the dialogue that's kind of getting that point across feels a little bit browbeating and kind of, a little obvious, when I'm like, yeah, you could have done it more as subtext rather than just like saying it directly out loud. But so that is Running Man. But now we're going to change over to something completely different with Sentimental Value, which was the some would say the runner-up for the Palme d'Or this year at Cannes, a new film from Joachim Trier. Is it Joachim? No.
I think it's Joachim.
Joachim.
Why didn't you want to do the role? He wanted you to do it.
I can't work with him. We can't really talk.
My father is a very difficult person.
You have to remind me, which movie won at Cannes again? Like, which movie was this up against?
Oh, this year it was the Jafar Panahi movie, the Iranian one that you didn't like very much.
Oh, right. The one we saw.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
During the film festival. The kidnapping one.
It was just an accident.
Okay, as you said, Sentimental Value is a Norwegian film from Joachim Trier. Renata Reinsve, I hope I say that right. She's back. I love her work. I think she's a wonderful actress. The Worst Person in the World was one of the best movies I've seen this decade. She's in it, and she plays the daughter of a director named Gustav Borg, played by Stellan Skarsgård. And it's a movie about broken families, father-daughter relationships, neglect, and it's mostly in Norwegian. In this film, Gustav Borg has a marriage that's kind of fallen apart. It's ended. It's troubled. The mom has died. And at some point, he leaves the family to focus on his career. Renata Reinsve, his oldest daughter, he's got two daughters. She ends up being an actress. An actress, ironically, who has stage fright, which is pretty interesting to see her act. And one day he shows up at their old home, and he says, "I've written a movie and I want you to be in it." And
okay.
His daughter understandably declines because of what's happened in their family and the amount of tragedy that's happened. She feels like this is a cheap way to try and mend their relationship, and she's not really having it. Small budget movie, pretty small in scope, and this is very different from what Joachim Trier usually does, because I don't think he's lampooning anything. I don't think there's a lot of exaggeration. It actually feels very real most of the time. Because maybe I was expecting something different, I actually didn't enjoy this as much as some of his previous movies. This one was just kind of two actors looking longingly into each other's eyes with an ounce, or with like a heavy burden of understanding, of finally seeing what the other person sees. That kind of movie,
Yeah. But is it like, is it a situation where because I know you also are not a fan of movies that are too self-congratulatory about the acting process or the filmmaking process. Yes. So is it self-congratulatory like about their talents, or is it just sort of using the fact that they make movies as a backdrop for the relationship stuff?
It's definitely the backdrop. There is a sort of subplot in the movie where Elle Fanning plays this American actress who stars in Gustav's movie because his daughter Nora had turned it down. So he kind of hires this blonde actress and makes her dye her hair and makes it seem like she's the daughter. But I don't want to spoil it, but at some point she's just like, she basically says, "I have too much respect for this art. This movie is not for me. It should be your daughter playing this role." And that part I found a little self-congratulatory, or very at least aware of, Hollywood is art. People care about their craft. You know, even a fictional movie star played by Elle Fanning has, you know, a lot of respect about how a movie should be played and whose part or whose actors are, you know, fit for a certain role. But you are right. The fact that it's about a director and an actress, people in the acting industry, did kind of bother me a little. It just seems so ironic and awkward. It's kind of like going to a movie and then the actor saying like, "Look, I'm acting."
Yeah. So I'm still probably going to try to watch it sometime this month. I mean, I hadn't seen any of Joachim Trier's movies before Worst Person in the World. I heard all of the huge waves of praise that movie got, and then I had to check it out and loved it. I mean, I'm like you. It was one of the best movies that I've seen in the last number of years. And one thing about that movie is that, you know, it has those comedy moments and those sad moments, and you are wrestling with this character played by Rian, who, you know, is making decisions, some of which are good for her, some of which are bad, and you just have to kind of roll with it and understand that, you know, she's very flawed and sometimes she doesn't act in her own self-interest. Do you think Sentimental Value needed more of that type of character, you know, and that type of dynamic?
I think it needed more not exposition, because there's actually narration in the movie. I think it could have used more dialogue, honestly. It's a very talky movie, but I wish, and part of the themes of this movie is that they can't communicate with each other very well, but I almost feel like I could have used more scenes where the characters are more forward and straight with each other.
Well, between this and It Was Just an Accident, do you think the Cannes jury picked well, or would you have preferred to see Sentimental Value win?
I think I would have preferred this, actually. It is a good movie. You should check it out. It didn't move me as much as some of the other dramatic movies do.
That's fair. Well, unfortunately, we're going to stay on this exact same topic, that of artists reflecting on their long careers, with Jay Kelly.
Thinking about her leaving, I feel like I missed it.
We need you now. Jay's having a nervous breakdown. It's bad. It's really, really bad.
Jay?
Where are we going?
Meg, where are we going?
France.
France?
In many ways, I mean, like different characters, obviously, but is making similar reflections, similar father-daughter dynamics, career versus family. How does an artist look back on his accomplishments? Is it worth anything? You know, all of these kind of ideas. And this is from Noah Baumbach, who has been working in a partnership with Netflix for the past few releases, you know, things like the Meyerowitz stories, and working with Adam Driver specifically with a Marriage Story. And
how did you like Marriage Story, by the way? I can't remember.
I liked Marriage Story quite a bit. I thought, you know, the praise for it was well deserved. It was definitely more of a mainstream kind of success for him. I think it obviously the memes with Adam Driver hitting the wall and screaming at Scarlett Johansson and stuff, that kind of indicated that like regular people beyond just cinephiles were seeing it and were engaging with it. So Jay Kelly has George Clooney as a guy named Jay Kelly, who is basically the George Clooney of his world. You know, there's a big emotional scene towards the end where he attends this tribute that has been put together in his honor in Italy, and the career retrospective with all the clips from Jay Kelly's life are just George Clooney movies. So we see bits of The Thin Red Line, we see bits of Three Kings, we see Syriana, like the whole thing. Like the implication is that there is no George Clooney in this universe, and Jay Kelly is him.
Jay Kelly is him.
So, but that's just at the very end of the movie. The setup is that Jay Kelly he's between projects at the moment. He's just wrapped one sort of detective cop kind of movie, and he's thinking about what he does next. And he finds out that his younger daughter with whom he has a, fairly warm relationship. She's gotten to the end of high school. She's planning to go off to university. So she's going to move out of his house in LA and, leave the nest. And that's going to leave him completely alone, quotation marks, for the first time in a long time. He has an older daughter who has started her own life in Northern California, and they have a far more fractious relationship. They really don't get along. She blames Jay Kelly for not being around very much and for putting his career first. And their mom is out of the picture. But the fact that his younger daughter is leaving for Europe to hang out with her friends and just have a summer kind of exploring and backpacking wakens something in Jay Kelly and kind of makes him realize, you know what? I have to spend more time with my daughter before she's away at school. And he summons all of his assistants and his manager and his hairstylist and his makeup artist. They all pile into a private jet and they decide to chase his daughter across Europe. And this puts him, with amongst regular people for the first time in a long time, because he wants to ride on the same train that his daughter is riding on with her friends. And that means that, him and his entourage are going to crowd onto regular train cars and make a big scene. And as he's doing this, he's starting to reckon with his whole career and whether he's made the right choice and if he should just let his daughter go off and do her own thing, and whether he's done right by the people who work for him. And there's a lot of examination of Jay Kelly's relationship with his manager, played by Adam Sandler. And it's a dramatic performance from Adam Sandler, and arguably one of his greatest ones. I think it's up there with Uncut Gems and Spanglish and movies like that. In some ways, it's kind of like you're looking at Jay Kelly and his manager, and kind of a lot of the core drama comes down to those two guys and whether they can, keep working together despite all of the ways that Adam Sandler's character feels like he's Jay Kelly's friend, but Jay Kelly doesn't see him as a friend and sees him as an employee, and there's difficult stuff there. But yeah, it is, overall, I really, really liked it. I mean, obviously it's a movie that I identify with. I like, I know you're about to say shocker.
I know,
but yeah, it's definitely the kind of movie that I go for. I'm a sucker for those kinds of scenes where people are just swept up in the power of the movies, but there is a lot of really good character work happening here, and it's nice to see George Clooney do something like this, because obviously he himself is probably thinking about his own career at this point in his life, and so it's there's a bit of meta commentary happening there too. It's not going to be for everyone. There's, if you detected a note of self-congratulation in Sentimental Value, I mean, this is going to crank that up. So, but yeah, if you're like me and you like those kinds of movies about the behind the scenes of Hollywood and stuff, then, or if you like seeing Adam Sandler's dramatic performances, which I think, even if the behind the scenes Hollywood stuff doesn't attract you, he is good enough in this that it might be worth watching just for that.
I do want to say that I think a lot of comedic actors are very underrated dramatic actors. I think Jim Carrey, he does really well in drama. Same with Jeff Daniels, the two Dumb and Dumber. They actually are very good dramatic actors. And I just want to wonder if George Clooney has cornered the market on Hollywood movies about a person with just their name, where the title's the name of the character.
Yeah.
Like that. Jay Kelly, Michael Clayton.
Yeah, yeah.
You can see hear Mr. Movie though. George Clooney is Michael Clayton. And you're like, who the hell's Michael Clayton?
Yeah.
Why am I so intrigued? It's just because it's George Clooney. That's why.
Yeah, and I mean, Michael Clayton clips turn up in this movie too, because that's part of the retrospective.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? Oh my God. Okay, so it's a movie about George Clooney and himself.
Yeah, I mean, if
it's an autobiography.
If George Clooney was less of a family man, because obviously we know he's happily married to Amal and they have kids together and stuff, and if none of that were true, and if he was more of a philanderer and all of these other aspects of the Jay Kelly character that make him more like your stereotypical leading man kind of thing, if he was more like that, then yes. But I think, there's enough invention happening here that you'd be hard pressed to really recognize the real George Clooney in it.
You don't think George Clooney at some point in his life was a philanderer?
Oh no, no, I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying, like, it's a big.
He used to date Elle Macpherson.
I know, but
it was like a big time model. Come on.
But
he's only telling you what he wants you to hear and what you want to see.
All I'm saying is, like, compare his Wikipedia personal life section versus what this guy in Jay Kelly's has been up to, and
who knows. One final question before we move on: what is the best movie you've ever seen about movies? Like a movie about movies. I have one clear-cut favorite, and no film will ever knock it off the top spot. But I want you to go first.
One thing that comes to mind, which I loved at the time, I might not love as much now if I were to rewatch it, is The Artist.
We had split opinions about this movie.
We did, yeah. Obviously, again, it's not the sort of movie that you like to begin with, but I remember loving The Artist when I first saw it. Man, maybe it would dim a little bit on rewatch. La La Land has certain aspects of the movie about movies thing.
Okay, that one's good.
Amelie is another good one. That's not specifically about people who work in movies, but she is a movie lover, and that
I will agree with you on that one.
I'm sure there's a handful of others I could cite, but those are the first ones that come to mind. But you have an instant pick though.
Cinema to Paradiso.
Oh, okay.
Never ever will any movie about movies knock that film off its perch. It's totally about the love of film and like sort of how it brings communities together or divides them, but in like hilarious ways. Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't, but I've heard the title.
Robert, how am I only learning this now?
I don't know. Everyone's got cultural blind spots, man. I have
a copy in my condo right now.
Well, I will borrow it from you because who knows? Maybe it's not on streaming.
Borrow it. We're gonna watch it together. But I can't believe, like, of all the times you've come here, I haven't shown it to you.
Yeah, I don't know.
How do you enter my house and not ever see?
I didn't. I don't think you've ever mentioned it before, so I didn't even know it was this.
That's a lie. I've definitely mentioned it before because I always mention this film when it's when we're talking about movies or foreign films. I'm pretty sure it's streaming somewhere, and I implore you during this holiday season. And it's kind of like a good holiday movie, in my opinion.
Well, no, now that you've sold it so much, I'm thinking that I can't watch it this holiday season. I have to watch it the next time I'm in Vancouver because I have to see it with a fan.
No, just watch it on your own. You don't need me. Just watch it as soon as you can.
I've just pulled up a user-created list on Letterboxd on this topic just for just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. You've got classics like Sunset Boulevard and Singing in the Rain. Those are obviously a fantastic. The Player, I didn't mention that Robert Altman movie, really, really good. I have that on Criterion Collection, and that has a real note of satire about it that cuts pretty sharply. Hail Caesar from the Coen brothers is another one. Tropic Thunder.
I think we saw Hail Caesar together, didn't we?
Oh, we might have done, yeah.
I didn't like it as much. The one you just mentioned with the Robert Downey Jr. What's that one?
Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder is hilarious. It is so good.
It's something that comes up a lot because obviously filmmakers love to talk about the thing that they know the best. Holy Motors is another one. Adaptation's
a little weird. I'll give it credit. It's very original. It's very interesting, but it's also very weird.
Birdman is another one. The Inarritu.
You ever seen that one with Nicolas Cage?
Oh yeah, Adaptation. Yeah, that's probably. It's one of Charlie Kaufman's like most well-known movies of the last number of years. But yeah, and Nicolas Cage plays his own twin. What more could you want?
Exactly, more Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. So. Obviously I already did my recommendation for Jay Kelly, but we've now talked about 3 movies that, only one of us have seen. So let's close out the episode with a couple of ones that we've both seen so we can really dive into the meat.
And we're only an hour in. This is great.
Yeah, this might be a long one. Speaking of meat, how about Predator Badlands? There's a lot of meat in that movie.
It's good meat. Wow, that sounded so creepy.
A lot of things getting chopped up and recombined, and a lot of flesh kind of like being rent asunder in various ways, which you'd expect from a movie about a, otherworldly alien who hunts as a rite of passage.
Here, you're not the predator. You're the prey.
How many of the Predator sequels had you seen before you watched this?
All of them.
Yeah, like Predator 2, Predators, The Predator.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you were more familiar with the franchise. I mean, I'd seen the original. I haven't seen Predator 2.
Okay. I saw them like as they came out. So when Predator 1 and Predator 2 came out, they were horrifying to me. But I saw them when I was in grade school, I think, something like that.
Okay, yeah. And then there's the Adrian Brody one, which I think people think of fairly fondly. That was like in the 2010s.
I saw that one too.
Then The Predator was a Shane Black one from 2019, I think. That was very poorly received. Kind of put Black into director jail for a bit. And now, we've had Dan Trachtenberg, the guy who's, he got his start making, of all things, a Portal fan film. And I remember, finding out about him then and being like, wow, this guy's actually got something, he's got some talent, even though he's working in like a fan tribute kind of genre. And then he ended up making 10 Cloverfield Lane, the first like true Cloverfield sequel, and arguably the best in that whole franchise. And that really got him going. And then he ended up making, he made Prey, which was a period piece set in the Predator universe with a young Cherokee woman who's facing off with a predator in like the, I guess, 18th century or something like that. And then that kind of got him into the Predator universe, and he made an animated film that came out earlier this year called Predator: Killer of Killers, now Predator Badlands, which was a little bit of a hit, I would say.
I'd say so, and it deserves to be a hit. I enjoyed this movie a lot. I like Prey, the movie that Dan Trachtenberg did before this. I'm generally a pretty decent fan of the Predator franchise. I'm always interested in the next Predator movie, unless it really gets gory, even though Predator 1 and 2, I think there were parts that were kind of like, whoa, especially when I was, a young, impressionable child. But I love how they flipped the perspective. So instead of being humans being hunted by a predator or hunting for a predator, it is about the predator itself and their culture, which we never really explored. I thought Elle Fanning was fantastic as an android, and I think it was overall very well done. It doesn't do anything new plot wise. I think we've seen a similar plot in a lot of movies about a young man who's often, down in the dumps or hit a very low point in their life, and they have to go out and prove that they can become an adult or be brave enough or be strong enough, whatever the chore may be. I love how the Predator and Alien worlds have kind of collided. So there's a lot of Easter eggs about like Weyland-Yutani, which I think is always really interesting. But I do also like the fact that both Alien, with their newest installment with Kaylee Spaney, and Badlands, the Predator franchise, they're both doing really well. And I like how they're kind of going in their own direction again. We don't need all these mashups, even though sometimes they're nice. I like the Adrian Brody one and all the other ones. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What about you?
I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. I mean, it was an easy like 4-star out of 5 for me.
Where's the missing star?
There's nothing particularly fresh plot wise, but it's just the learning about the culture of this alien race, the Yautja, and obviously they're like a warrior race, and they have to go and successfully hunt some huge impossible target in order to get the respect of their family and their community. This one gives him an additional layer of challenge where he was deemed to be like the runt of his tribe, and his brother was picking up a lot of the slack for him in the eyes of their father, to the point where, as the film begins, the father kills this Yautja's older brother.
Whoa, spoilers.
It's the opening of the movie. Come on. And basically exiles the Yautja to I think his name is Dek, right? Exiles him to this planet that plays home to a whole array of scary life forms, but specifically this one scary life form that's been deemed like the impossible kill, the impossible hunt. And he thinks that if he can bring a trophy back from this creature to his home planet, they will accept him again. His father will, at the very least, not try to kill him instantly, and maybe he can get some form of revenge for his brother's death. So that's kind of the motivating force behind the story for the most part. And then, of course, as you said, he encounters a Weyland-Yutani android played by Elle Fanning, who's had her legs ripped off by this same creature that he's chasing. And she ends up being this kind of both like a way of him learning about this insanely dangerous planet, because she spent a amount of time there. She gives him the information he needs to actually survive. But she's got her own mission that she's on, and you learn a little bit more about that and about her. Can you call them sisters? Like, she's got a identical android that's made in her image, and
it's like a clone.
Yeah, a clone. Yeah. So I mean, Trachtenberg and his team have thought up all kinds of really cool alien environments and creatures for this. It's not just the one that Dek is chasing. There's scary pulsating flowers that spit spines that can kill you within minutes, and there's fields of grass that are actually made of like sharp glass that slices you open, and gigantic monsters that swallow you and spit you back out. And I think there's a shot where the Dek like kind of stands up on a cliff when he first arrives on the planet, and he's kind of looking out over this vista, and you can just it's like a spot the difference kind of game where you just see all of these like writhing forms like off in the distance, and there's some of them are creatures that he doesn't even encounter during the story, and there's just like a little Easter egg there of like, oh my god, there's a horrible looking thing crawling around that mountain peak over there. Was he gonna have to fight that thing?
I was gonna mention Dan Trachtenberg is really good at world building. I think it's one of the most interesting things about this movie is that the planet itself is a character.
Yes, very much so. And it's a good example of like setups and payoffs where, he's introducing stuff in a natural way throughout the story, which then gets paid off and Dek uses to his advantage later on.
And I also like the fact that it's a connective thread between that and Prey, because in Prey, the protagonist makes these makeshift weapons, and she uses like her ingenue and her traps to defeat the predator. And it's kind of similar with this one.
Yeah.
I thought Elle Fanning is really great. I haven't really seen a lot of her work. I've seen some of it, but I thought she was really great playing two characters that have very distinct personalities and mannerisms. I think it's always hard for humans to play robots, or androids, or whatever you want to call them. I think in this movie there's a special word for them.
Synths, maybe?
Synth, right.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's really hard for humans to play robots, and she does a really good job.
Yeah. And they use the fact that she's been cut in half to great effect in the climax, where there's a very distinctive fight scene that takes advantage of the fact that she can move both parts of her body simultaneously, or independently rather. And that was a fun little bit of like comedy and action at the same time. And yeah.
You talked about the blades of the plant that can cut like glass.
Yeah. Yep.
You ever seen Eon Flux with Charlize Theron?
I've seen large stretches of it, but I've never seen it end to end.
There's a part where I think the grass is like shards and you can't step on it or something like that.
Right. She's infiltrating this like city or something.
Yeah. And it reminds me of that. And I think it's kind of...
I mean, maybe Trachtenberg was thinking of that movie when he came up with that.
Yeah, I just think it's a pretty cool thing because it creates this sense of danger of the environment for the protagonist when there's like no enemy around, you know, like it's her versus the environment, right? So I gave it 4 stars as well. I really enjoyed it. I do recommend it. I do hope there is one more coming for sure. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sufficiently open-ended conclusion here where, like, I mean, they could either literally just directly continue the story into a new movie, and I mean, not to spoil it, but like there's plenty of options for the Deck and his co-travelers to continue their adventures in space or on the Yautja planet or wherever the heck they go. They could connect it up with the characters from the Alien universe again and have more like, did anyone survive an Alien Covenant? I literally can't remember. I guess Kaylee Spaney survived, didn't she?
No, you're thinking Romulus.
Oh, Romulus, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's kind of like the first one. Oh, Sigourney Weaver, where she might return.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Ultimately, it's sort of a one-off. There are other characters in this universe that have like come in contact with aliens and whatnot. But I just want to say, Dan Trachtenberg did say that if Predator Badlands was successful, there is a third movie that he has, a third story he has to tell. And
okay,
so I'm hopeful that sequel gets made and we get our trilogy.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, who knows? It could be like a completely different cast of characters within, like, you know, some of the people from this turn up at the end or whatever. Big marks for Predator Badlands. Obviously, it's probably on streaming now, but if you see it come across your TV screen, it's a good one. So we're going to close things out with Wake Up Dead Man from Rian Johnson.
Everyone thinks I did it. I didn't do it.
This goes way beyond normal police work. This is something even I have not experienced. A perfectly impossible crime.
The third in the Knives Out series, which, I mean, we've both enjoyed the Knives Out movies pretty well. The Glass Onion came out kind of not long after the pandemic, and it kind of worked the pandemic stuff into the opening a little bit. I've seen lots of takes about Knives Out. I've seen people say that, like, they're overly cozy or they, you know, too cute or things like that. But I've always really enjoyed this kind of detective format. That, you know, it's very similar to the Agatha Christie novels. You know, it's you're just set in a modern time period. So instead of Hercule Poirot or Mrs. Marples or whatever, is it Mrs. Marple? Mrs. Marple? Anyway, you know, the kind of drawing room mystery type situation where the charismatic detective unveils all of the interconnected bits of evidence for an assembled group of miscreants, and you usually find out that it's not as simple as just one little murder. There's always other little crimes nestled away. And Rian Johnson obviously really enjoys making movies like this. I mean, his very first feature, Brick, was itself a detective story, just a very different sort of one. I would say between the first and the second Knives Out movies, I still like the first one better than the second, but not by much. But this third one, I mean, some have described it as the best in the series, which you don't hear very often. You know, it's not every day that a third movie in a franchise is described as the best. I don't know that it's better than the first for me. I might still like the first one a teeny bit more, but I do like this third one better than the second one. I can say that. And I think it comes down to the Josh O'Connor performance as the young priest, the message that the movie's trying to convey about religion, and the twists and turns that the story takes you through. What did you think?
What did you give this on Letterboxd? I didn't see it.
I think I gave it 5 out of 5. I think it was a perfect score for me.
This movie.
Yes.
This movie that you kind of didn't sound so excited about, in which you had a lot of criticism.
Well, no, I was underselling it a little bit, but
underselling it. If it's a 5-star movie, you should sing the heck out of it. The praising it, not, you know, sort of like hedging your bets. I thought you were gonna be like, well, I liked the first, but I liked it more than the second. But the third might be better than the first, but I think it might be better than the first.
I'm leading people
on
a journey.
What are you trying to say? You're saying that it's the best in the series. That's what you're saying.
Maybe. I mean, I'm leading people on a journey.
What do you mean? You gave it 5 out of... Okay. Did you give the first one 5 out of 5?
No, you got
Then
me.
What the heck? Rob, the more stars you give it, the better you think it is.
I know. But I mean, you know as well as I do that giving things a numerical score is like fraught with all kinds of trouble anyway. So like, you know, there's the score you give it.
Oh, you crack me up sometimes.
There's the score you give it when you see it and it's fresh, and then there's the score that you think it deserves when you think about it like a few months later, and then there's the score that you might want to give it if you see it a second time. Like, you know, it's always changing. So I mean, who knows? Maybe I won't like it as much the next time, but I do think it is a really good movie. It's probably gonna be in my top 10 for the year. Again, it's a genre that speaks to me. I like the detective thing, so I couldn't think of anything that I would change about it. So yeah,
I think the detective genre is awesome. Should be one of the best genres in movies. Okay, so to me, this is clearly the film I enjoyed the least.
Okay,
it's a good thing we saved this movie till the end, because I had a feeling we would sort of be at odds on this.
Okay.
But again, with your intro, I thought you were gonna give it like, oh, it's like maybe a 4 out of 5, and I'd be like, oh. Anyway, I myself gave it 3.5 out of 5. For a lot of the reasons that you mentioned in your intro to the movie, I agreed with. It's a very well done movie. I'll say that I really liked the first one. The second one was okay, pretty good. Not as memorable and not as memorable as the first one. This one, I think, is closer to the second. I think that the sort of meandering way he tells these stories can lose a lot of people. It kind of lost me for a little bit. I think the cast is too big. You almost get too little of each character. I don't think there's a lot of development for some of the minor characters that I find really interesting, like Thomas Hayden Church. He sort of plays the caretaker of the church that they're at, and I think he's super interesting. I do think Josh O'Connor and Daniel Craig were both really good. Like, all the actors were really good. There are a couple casting decisions I wonder, not because they're bad, but because I wonder if they're miscast. So Mila Kunis playing the sort of chief of police or person head of the investigation, she's really good. It's just, I don't know if I see her in that role, maybe it's because of Family Guy, I just kind of want to laugh and not take her seriously when the character she plays is like a very competent policewoman.
Right.
Too much monologuing. The movie takes way too long to get going. I think for the first half hour, it's Josh O'Connor sort of narrating what's happening and introducing the characters through narration. And it just doesn't appeal to me. Even Daniel Craig's performance as Benoit Blanc, he didn't seem as manic and sharp as he did before. It feels a little toned down.
Yeah, I think, I mean, just on that point, I did notice that he seemed like he was less present in this story, and Josh O'Connor is more in the foreground. And that might just be partially a function of how in Glass Onion, Benoit Blanc is present for all of the crimes that take place. He's locked up in this mansion with Edward Norton's character and all of the people that he's invited. And so Benoit Blanc is like, he's experiencing all of this stuff in real time and trying to puzzle it out as he goes. Whereas here, the inciting incident happens before Blanc gets there, and he has Josh O'Connor's character write everything out in a letter to himself, as a way of like getting all the evidence written down so that Blanc can kind of digest it and kind of work from there. So it's Blanc comes to the mystery in two different ways. And so it has an impact on like how much of the stuff you get, or how the stuff gets delivered to you. I don't know that influenced the way I felt about the movie though. That was just me though.
Okay. Did you at any point have any doubts about who the culprit was?
I knew that they were saving Glenn Close for the end because she was like noticeably not included in some of the other kind of attempts at solving it, and she was always hovering on the periphery, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. Okay. And they obviously, these sorts of stories always throw lots of red herrings at the audience, so they show you a lot of characters who you can believe instantly would be responsible for the murders. And then the idea is to kind of surprise you at the end, hopefully, and show you a character who actually did it, and you're like, oh, okay, I understand. And there were unanswered questions about the main character and the main character's father that they introduced in that opening monologue by Josh O'Connor, and then they didn't return to until the very end. And so all that was tied in with Glenn Close's character, and I was like, yeah, that's interesting. But if you'd asked me, like, if you'd stopped the movie in the middle and told me, all right, who did it and how did it happen, I wouldn't have been able to tell you, because they are very good about kind of stringing you along and just delivering the little breadcrumbs and making sure that, like, maybe you would choose the right person who did it, but you wouldn't know how it had been done, or you wouldn't be able to answer all the questions.
I'll have to give Rian Johnson the credit for that one, because even if you just look at the cast, it just seems very likely that Glenn Close is, I guess, the other main character in this movie. It's just how Rian Johnson gets from point A to point B is very interesting and winding. Sometimes a little boring and hard to follow, a little tedious. I found it a little tedious in this one. But I think from watching it, I always felt it was her. And so when the final payoff scene came, I don't know if it was as, it's exciting, Whereas in the first Knives Out, he kind of explains how everything's going to happen. Like, why things unraveled the way they did, and then they kind of work backwards and show why no one's... Well, anyway, I don't remember much of the movie.
There's the additional layer here, too, of, like, the whole religious theme, which runs through the whole thing, and it helps explain why Blanc doesn't have that big reveal at the end. He allows Glenn Close's character to be the one to explain how she did it, because it's done as a form of confession. She's confessing her sins, and so Blanc isn't showing off for the audience and kind of or for the people in the room. He has them all leave, and there's no grand kind of like, oh, Benoit Blanc is such a genius, he knew all of this from the very beginning, and he does that because it's more of a sense of compassion. He knows that Glenn Close's character is very religious, and that she would benefit from confessing before it's too late, and so he allows her to do it, and that changes the dynamic of the movie quite a bit. And I mean, the overall theme of religion, I think, was a really distinguishing factor in this one, and something that helped elevate it for me, because I mean, I know that world pretty well. I was able to identify how much research went into this from Rian Johnson and the production's perspective. Like, they were getting a lot of really, really fine details right about, like, how these Catholic churches look, and the types of outfits they wear, and they lots of movies don't go to that kind of trouble to get those kinds of things right, and to depict the kind of culture of a church and the kind of weird people who cluster around a priest and kind of see him as their not as their god, but like as like this celebrity in their midst, and that's very true to life. I think the movie would have been worse off if it had, at least for me, like, I would have started picking out those errors if it had made them, and then I would have been like, oh, well, but it takes that very seriously, and I think it's worked into the story in such a way that it doesn't feel like slapped on or anything.
I thought one of the themes about religion, I thought one of the most interesting parts was actually the fact that Josh Brolin's character has basically formed a cult.
Yeah, and I mean,
of extremism, and I thought that was the most sort of poignant argument, I guess, that Rian Johnson was making about religion.
Mm-hmm, yeah, that the way that, like, even within a single denomination like Catholicism, you can have splinter groups that interpret stuff in a really extreme way and deviate very far from the intention of the stuff, and end up kind of promoting a very negative worldview. And so like that's what Josh Brolin's character, the charismatic priest, at the beginning of the movie, that's what he represents. And then Josh O'Connor is the opposite side of like, caring for people and, giving people second chances and stuff like that. And, the movie puts those two things together. And that, again, it's another example of something the movie gets right about religion. And, it's not trying to just say like, oh, religion is 100% bad. And like everyone who goes to church is going after each other and it's all negative, and that, it's looking for shades of gray, which I thought was good.
Are we going to get more of these? Probably, eh?
I mean, I think Johnson has said that he's only signed a deal with Netflix for 3.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't close the door if they throw a bunch of money at him and say we want more of those. I mean, I've seen lots of people on Blue Sky talking about how they would easily watch 20 of these. I think that's too many,
I don't know about that.
I think it would get a little stale if we'd ended up with 20 of them. But I could easily watch at least 2 more. I'd be happy with 2.
I wouldn't mind it. Depends on what it's about.
Oh yeah, obviously.
What the plot is and who's in it.
Yeah, I think he's.
I would have definitely liked to see more Daniel Craig in this movie.
Yeah,
he really like kind of hides in the background in this one.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe the next one he could be more foregrounded again. Johnson's probably got like a laundry list of actors who would be banging down the door to get into one of these, just because they're a lot of fun, I think, to make.
Josh O'Connor, by the way, is having quite the run, though, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was in a Kelly Reichardt movie earlier this year.
He was in The Crown. He was in Challengers.
Yep.
The Mastermind was a movie I want to see at film festival. Couldn't.
Yeah, that's the Reichardt one. And he's one of the co-leads for Spielberg's big event Alien movie for this coming June. So Disclosure Day. He's the conspiracist who's got the goods on the aliens in that trailer that just dropped.
There's a new alien.
Oh, you
there's a new Aliens movie from Spielberg?
Yeah, it's coming out in June.
What?
Yeah, you got to hit up the trailer. It's like old school Spielberg, like, the very close encounters, like, the aliens are coming and there's people who know and they got to spread the word. And
all right, I will have to check this out. 2026 shaping up to be a very sneaky good year.
I mean, I think 2025 was a good year. We can obviously get into that when we do our first episode of in the new year, and we
no, we're doing it now. Robert,
you're making
this
me
is
edit
our last episode. This is just real quick. This is the last episode until the new year.
Yes.
Happy holidays, by the way, to everyone.
Yes, happy holidays.
So we should at least make our preliminary picks now. I'm not saying this has to be your pick, because we'll know.
Are you asking me to pick the Oscar winner or the thing that I like the best?
The movies you like best.
Oh,
well,
okay.
If you want to pick your Oscar winner, sure.
No, I'm not going to. That's too far away.
No, but you have an idea, Robert. Come on, Robert. You just want to see the nominees, but let's go top 5.
Okay, top 5 based purely on numbers, like ratings in Letterboxd.
Just give me your 5 favorite movies.
One Battle After Another, Wake Up Dead Man, Frankenstein, Train Dreams, and It Was Just an Accident. As we talked about when we did our TIFF and VIFF thing, I gave 5 stars to It Was Just an Accident more for like the kind of the social impact of the movie and not so much from indicating my own like preference for it, if that makes sense. I felt like I was having a hard time grading that movie, but
no, just pick the best 5 movies based on how you feel.
Okay, so then if it's just that, if that's the only criterion,
yeah, it's like your 5 favorite films of the year.
One Battle After Another, Wake Up Dead Man, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Jay Kelly.
Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, so I have One Battle After Another.
Yep.
Sinners.
Okay.
Kokuho.
Kokuho. Okay, yeah.
Left-Handed Girl.
Yep.
And my 5th, honestly, maybe Badlands. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's no shame in that. Top 10, I would add Sinners, Black Bag, Rental Family, maybe Materialists.
How about Mickey 17?
Materialists and Maybe K-pop Demon Hunters. I don't know.
I still haven't seen that.
I mean, it's a confection of a movie. Like, you know, there's still so many things that I have to see.
Oh, same.
This December. So I think that's gonna move. That's gonna move around a whole bunch. I don't think K-pop will end up in the final 10. But
what about Roofman?
Roofman, I gave 4. So it's kind of, I've given out enough 4.5 and 5s this year that it's kind of been pushed down the count.
I'm surprised Black Bag didn't make it for you. I thought you loved it too.
That's in the top 10, but yeah, I don't think it'll make it into the top 5. There's too many things. Yes, as Jason was saying, happy holidays to everyone who's been listening to this podcast. It's been a great year. We can argue over, you know, if 2024 is better than 2025 or if 2026 is going to be even better than that. But in terms of movies, at least. But we've had a really good time talking about all that stuff with you and some TV shows along the way. But look forward to our 2025 retrospective, the first episode of 2026. Do you have any final thoughts?
I do not, but I do want to wish, I guess, everyone a happy holiday. Yeah, but we will reconvene in January or February at some point because Rob inevitably wants to talk about the Oscars.
And we've got to compare our Oscar picks to the stuff we actually liked, and there's trashy movies coming out in January that you got to see as well. So
trashy. I'm excited for 2026 though, for the movies. Anyway, I don't know what 2026 is going to bring, but it just sounds like there's a lot of interesting titles. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Rob, for listening to me talk and all sorts of other stuff.
Thank you for listening to me talk, and we will see you in the new year.
The Extra Buttery podcast is written, recorded, and produced by Jason Chen and Robert Snow. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to rate and subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. And remember, popcorn is always better with extra butter.